Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Erik Johanson, a teacher with LSAT Demon. With me is Nathan Fox, co-founder of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Today, an email from Jordan.
Jordan's subject is from neuroscience to law, parentheses, because who doesn't love a good plot twist?
Okay.
Hi, LSAT Demon team. I'm aiming for a top 50 law school and could use some advice on my journey. I might stop you right there to just say, top 50, why?
No, that's a nice round number.
I know, well, but just what's so magical about it? I guarantee you there's no difference between a school that's ranked 40th and a school that's ranked 60th. I mean, rough rule of thumb, if the ranking's not 2x, then there's no difference. So a school ranked 30th and a school ranked 50th, not really a difference. A school ranked 45th and a school ranked 75th, not really a difference. So this idea that it's like a school that's ranked 50th in the country is not really placing people very highly in big law. They're not going to be placing people very highly in federal clerkships. The top is really a lot higher than people understand. You know, the schools where you're going to be a shoe-in to big law or federal clerkships or really prestigious nonprofits, it really is kind of like schools in the top 14. So then why would Jordan care at all about the top 50? If you're not going to the top 10, then okay, you're just going to a regional law school.
We just like round numbers, Nathan.
Yeah.
I mean, I go through the same thing with setting goals for myself with running. Anybody who runs, it's like, oh, what's your goal time for the marathon? Well, 4 hours. Why 4 hours? Well, because it's 4 hours. Oh.
Yeah.
What? We just like round numbers.
Yeah. Jordan, you've got the wrong goal. You should go to a school that is going to charge you a reasonable price for an outcome that you actually want. And so I don't know yet why you're wanting to transition from neuroscience into the law. I don't know what you want to do with it yet, but I just promise you that there's nothing that a school that's ranked 40th is going to give you that a school that's ranked 70th wouldn't give you. So you should be looking at other factors besides just that ranking. Anyway, Jordan continues. Here's the backstory. I have a BS in neuroscience with a 2.8/2.9 GPA, thanks to a pre-med phase and the COVID era. But I transferred my junior year and my GPA improved significantly. Since graduation, I've been working in contracts and legal matters and have been mentored by multiple lawyers who confirmed my passion for law. I'm particularly interested in medical malpractice, corporate, or entertainment law.
Why restrict yourself to just those practice areas?
It's also a strange... It's a very
well.
strange...
I'm joking because that's such a broad range of things to be interested in. Medical malpractice, corporate, and entertainment law. That's casting a pretty wide net.
When people say entertainment law too, it's like when people say they want to be sports agents or something. It's like, okay, do you know anyone who works in entertainment law? Like, is that a real thing?
Mentored by multiple lawyers.
I don't know what this lawyers.
Jordan says that I've been working in contracts and legal matters. I don't know what that means or looks like, but maybe they have some legal work experience.
Jordan continues. I started with a 148 diagnostic and have been using 7-Sage, LSAT Demon, and the LSAT Trainer. I would advise you to pick one of those. Like, we do very different things than LSAT Trainer. We're very different from 7-Sage. I think that you'll find that we have a much more natural and intuitive way of approaching the test. I think if you're going to study with us, you should probably just let go of those other resources if you want to use those other resources and see how you do, good luck. But I don't really think you want to use both. I mean, we have refugees all the time. Don't get me wrong. Like we welcome people from other prep companies, and
Mhm.
we are, they frequently say, oh my God, thank God I let go of all that stuff that I read in the LSAT trainer or whatever. And we're like, yeah, we think it's simpler our way.
Sure.
But I don't see any value in doing them simultaneously.
Yeah, it's a little like signing up to be a member at Planet Fitness and 24-hour fitness
Yeah, it's
and like, well, I'm just going to sign up with multiple gyms because that's going to be the best way to get in shape, right? Well,
yeah,
no, maybe commit to one and go to that one consistently
yeah,
and put in the work.
yeah. Do it our way. I think if you want to study with us, I think it'll be simpler for you if you just do what we tell you to do, which is exactly the opposite of what these other sources tell you in many instances.
Yeah.
Uh, Jordan continues, I'm planning to take the LSAT in February, April, and June of 2025, aiming for a 168 to 175 to apply in 2026. Here are my questions. Wait, if you're taking the LSAT in early 2025, you could definitely apply in 2025 to start law school in 2026.
Maybe that's what Jordan means.
Well, or she's
I don't
looking at
know.
the application deadlines and she's like, oh, the deadline is March 1st of 2026. So I'll just apply then. And she might not have heard how important it is that we apply early in the cycle rather than later in the cycle. Erik, you're an applicant this cycle, and
Yes.
you've already been getting admittances. You've already been getting scholarship offers, sometimes unsolicited, just like schools emailing you going, hey, we hear you're applying for law school this cycle. Here's a free scholarship. And you're like, no, thanks, because you've got better offers. But yeah, Jordan, we always advise that people apply in the fall for the subsequent fall. So if you want to start in 2026, we would want you to be applying in the fall of 2025. Here are my questions, says Jordan. What are my chances of getting into a top 50 school if I hit my target score? How would you answer that, Erik, if she asked you in one of your LSAT classes?
Well, I'm a little, I'm a little confused by what that target score is, because Jordan says aiming for 168 to 175. Well, your chances are going to be way better if it's 175 than 168. I think either way, your GPA is not doing you any favors.
Oh, no. Your GPA sucks. I mean, the GPA is going to hurt you at every law school.
Mm-hmm.
Literally every law school. You're going to be below the median at literally every law school. So you need an LSAT that's going to counterbalance that. You're going to be a splitter at every school. Giving you credit, though, for a 2.8 and a 168, which was the low end of your range.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I still think that she's a shoo-in for some top 50 schools.
Yeah.
Because 50 is just not very high.
No, you're going to get in some places with a 168 for sure. But I think both of us would say it's not just about getting in, it's about going to law school for a reasonable price, which for many people can be $0.
Yeah. So Jordan, I just went to lsatdemon.com/scholarships. I put in your 2.8 undergrad GPA and I put in your 168 LSAT and I hit estimate. And scrolling down the list, I see that you will be getting, you're likely to, based on last year's data, you're likely to get some scholarship offers, even as high as, like it says, Wash U ranked 16th in the country. You're likely to get more than a 50% scholarship at Wash U based on those numbers.
I think they've got that really sharp admissions graph where as
They
long as you get over
definitely do.
one of their medians
Yep,
and you're a
they do.
splitter, they'll
Well,
let you
also,
in.
more than 50% scholarship is not a very good scholarship at the likes of Wash U. Well, look at Wash U's. Oh my God. Their 509 report. I always forget this, I guess. Their median LSAT's 173.
Okay.
Their 75th percentile LSAT is only 174. So just 1 point higher.
Mm-hmm. Their 25th is probably
25th?
way lower, huh?
That's what's making me laugh. Their 25th percentile is 162.
Wow.
That's the biggest split I can imagine. That's an 11-point split between the 50th percentile and the 25th percentile. So, when the estimator thinks, oh, they'll probably actually give you some money with a 168, they're just like, well, they give scholarships to everybody. And I don't mean everybody literally, but the 509 report says that 97% of the people who go to WashU get some form of a grant, including 10% get a stipend, 9% get full tuition, and then 63% of the class gets something more than 50% off. Wild discounting happening at WashU.
What St.
purely
Louis billionaire
fake
is giving
tuition.
them money to throw to students?
No,
like
they
this?
just have a fake tuition. It's not real money. Their fake tuition, $67,000 a year at WashU.
That's
$67,000 in St. Louis, Missouri. What? I mean, if you adjusted cost of living, like if you compare schools in New York that charge $67,000 to schools in St. Louis that charge $67,000, that's it's just a dramatically different place in the world. But they charge, it's the typical thing of charging Harvard prices, even when you're not even a school in the top 14.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's fictional tuition. The scholarships are not real money. They are discounts. There's no billionaire here. It's just that they have a wildly inflated tuition, and then they call the discounts scholarships. Point being, though, that I think Jordan is like, yes, Jordan, you're going to get into tons of schools in the top 50. But the estimator, I have to keep scrolling down looking for where you're likely to get a full ride. The first full ride that I see, based on a 2.8 and a 168 last year, would have been likely to get you a full ride scholarship at Arizona, ranked 55th in the country. So here's my thing with you, Jordan. I think you're very likely to get in with those numbers, but I think you're also very likely to get a bad deal with those numbers at schools inside the top 50. But if you lower that bar a little bit, you start looking at full tuition at Georgia State, ranked 75th. Actually, not very many full ride scholarships, though, on the estimator.
With a 2.8.
With the GPA as low as Jordan's. Yeah. Okay. Back to Jordan's email. So that this is not an hour-long episode. Should I include an addendum for my GPA history, COVID struggles, and career pivot?
Well, COVID struggles, that sounds very strange. Like, that to me sounds like if I were to run this marathon that I've got coming up and come in last place, and at the end I'm like, well, no wonder I came in last place. Did you see how steep the hill at mile 20 was? And everyone else who placed ahead of me was like, yeah, I did. I ran that hill too.
Exactly.
Jordan, your competitors in this game also went through COVID, and many of them did just fine. And many schools' grading policies became more forgiving during COVID. So
the fact that you were irresponsible, that you didn't manage it properly. That's how they're going to see it, And so everybody thinks I'm a dick, and Jordan's going to think I'm a dick. But I'm just telling you that they're going to see it in that light. They're going to look at you, and they're comparing you to other applicants who also ran that hill. And you saying, oh, well, it was my career pivot and COVID. Yeah, okay, but other people have career pivots. Other people went through COVID. You could have withdrawn from those classes. You could have applied for pass, no pass grading. You could have done other things. You didn't have to put bad grades on your permanent record. Mm-hmm. There were things you could have done. And, I'm sorry you're sick, and I'm sorry that your family was sick. And I get it. Everybody went through some shit during COVID, but I don't think writing about it's going to help you. The only thing I would write about at all, Jordan, is your increasing grade trend. I would focus on the positives. I would leave the other stuff behind. I mean, maybe you could talk about the pivot. You could just say, I was pre-med, but once I switched, my GPA was 3.5 or whatever it was. But I would just try to get them to anchor on that higher GPA. And I promise you, Jordan, no amount of excuses are going to make a difference. They just don't care. They have to report the number for what it is. So you might get them to say, oh, look, yeah, she did better. Like the last couple of years is better. Maybe we're getting a diamond in the rough, but not if you start making excuses.
Yeah. I will say, coming back to the career pivot, if I'm reading your application, I want to get a clear message for why you're going to law school.
Oh, I think 100%.
I want to get the impression that you know what you're doing, because if I'm going just based on your email, Jordan, it feels a little waffly. Like,
especially when you throw in entertainment law out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pin you down. Even down to something like 2.8/2.9 GPA.
Yeah.
Oh, well, which one was it?
Right.
You're interested in medical malpractice, corporate, or entertainment law. That doesn't sound particularly focused. You're aiming for a 168 to 175. Okay, well, which is it? What is your goal? The way that you present yourself, at least in this email, feels unfocused, and that will not do you any favors on your law school application. So when it comes to, if or how you choose to talk about your career pivot into law, I want you to think about why. Why law? Why right now? And how do I tell that story? How do I make it seem like I really know what I'm getting myself into?
And you're only going to get one chance to make this first impression, and you just don't want to confuse them. So the more stuff you throw in there of, oh, well, I might want to do medical malpractice, which kind of makes sense. You studied neuroscience. You have a BS, like, okay, she's got a science-y background. She wants to do medical malpractice. That's why she has to go to law school. Makes sense. The corporate law, what is corporate law? What are you talking about? What kind of corporate law? What do we mean by that? I don't, you'd have to be clearer and hopefully tie it in with your neuroscience background, ideally. I would definitely leave entertainment law out of it, unless that's what's clearly demonstrated on your resume. If you actually have jobs working in entertainment law and you want to talk about that, then that's fine. But in that case, I would definitely leave out anything about medical malpractice. And I would just say, okay, here's, I've been working with this attorney and I'm going to go down this path. Appreciate you, Jordan. Thank you for writing in. Sorry for the tough love. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.